Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Wilson County Board of Education for Monday, June 6th to order. Members of the board, placed at your seats are the minutes of the June 2nd, 2022 board meeting, so that we will need to amend the agenda for the inclusion of those minutes for approval. So what is your pleasure?
Madam Chair,
Mrs. Powell?
I move that we amend the agenda for the June 2nd, 2022 special meeting minutes.
Second.
We're not amending the minutes, but we're amending the agenda so that we can add these minutes to our
Yes, I'm
tonight's
sorry.
agenda.
I move that we amend the agenda so that we can add the minutes of the June 2nd, 2022 special meeting of the Wilson County Board of Education.
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Powell, seconded by Mr. Mercer, that we amend tonight's agenda to include the minutes of the June 2nd, 2022 special board meeting. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. We now need a motion for the agenda to be approved. I didn't forget tonight, Mr. Mercer.
Madam Chair,
Mrs. Powell?
I move we approve the amended agenda for the June 6th, 2022 Wilson County Board of Education meeting.
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Powell, seconded by Mr. Mercer, that we approve the amended agenda for tonight's meeting of June 6, 2022. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Members of the board and the audience, please know that the meeting is being televised on Spectrum and Greenlight Channel 22. The meeting is being live streamed through the Wilson County Schools YouTube channel, and the public can also view the meeting through links on the Wilson County Schools Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages, and the Wilson County Schools website. If you would now please join Mr. Breen in being led with the Pledge of Allegiance, to be followed by a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Members of the board, you have before you the minutes of May 16th, 2022, a regular board meeting, and June 2nd, 2022, a special board meeting. What is your pleasure?
Madam Chair,
Mrs. Barnes?
I move that we approve the regular board meeting minutes of May 16, 2022, and the special meeting on June 2nd, 2022.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Barnes, seconded by Mrs. Boyette, that we approve the regular meeting minutes of May 16th, 2022, and the special board meeting of June 2nd, 2022. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Under the chairman's report, first of all, I'd like for us to pause in our efforts tonight for the children of Wilson County in memory of the children and teachers of Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, as the board of that particular district make preparations for the future of that site and the disposition for the students, their parents, and the community to best meet their needs. May we continue to work to help keep everyone in Wilson County Schools safe and continue to work with our law enforcement partners and all other community partners and families as we continue to work for a safe environment for our students. Next, I'd like to congratulate the Wilson County Schools Teacher of the Year finalists. In preparation for the selection that was made for the Teacher of the Year. Those finalists were Leanne Orr from Elm City Middle, Sonia Hayes from Frederick Douglass Elementary, Michelle Busby of Gardner's Elementary, Virginia Shreve from Hunt, Jessica Emerson of New Hope, Abby Borkin from Springfield, Timothy Deans from Toys Knot, Kimberly Wright from Weka, Teresa Newton of Wells, and Carrie Moravi of Fike. As you already know, it was published in the paper that our Wilson County Schools 2022-2023 Teacher of the Year is Carrie Moravi of Fike. I'd also like to congratulate the Wilson County Schools Principal of the Year finalists, from which the Principal of the Year was selected. Those persons were Kelly Thomas from Hearn, Daniel Barnes of Lee Woodard, Emily Chilton of Rock Ridge, Annette Faison of Vic, and Jennifer Parker of Darden Middle School. And again, as you know, which has already been published, the Wilson County Schools 2022-2023 Principal of the Year is Jennifer Parker from Darden Middle School. We had the opportunity and the pleasure of being at both sites as these individuals were informed of their recognition, and it was a very enjoyable time and very emotional time for those who were so named. But we recognize all the teachers of all of our schools who were Teachers of the Year, and as the process winnowed down to the finalists, leading to the selection of the actual Teacher and Principal of the Year. Congratulations to the class of 2022 as they prepare to graduate on this coming Saturday. We're extremely proud of each of them as they have weathered changing learning environments of the last couple of years due to COVID. Their resilience should help prepare them for life's changing variables as they move forward, whether to the military, to the workforce, or to college situations. We've already had our graduations for Weka and for Watt, our early colleges, and our traditional high schools, Bedingfield, Fike, and Hunt, will be graduating their students this Saturday, the 11th of June, at 9 o'clock in the morning. So we wish all of them Godspeed and the best in life that is yet to come. I'd also like to, on behalf of the board, congratulate the remainder of our students and staff for a successful school year. They too have weathered changing circumstances, and they have jumped many hurdles. And as the summer break comes, it will be a much needed time for everyone, but we also remember that we have the various summer programs that the system will be operating in order to benefit our students. And that, members of the board, completes my report, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Mills for the superintendent's report.
Madam Chair, board members, audience members, I'll piggyback on a few things that Dr. Fitz shared, but I know no one was keeping track, but this past Friday, June 3rd, was our last day of school. And so I know it's quite a shock to the system that it came so fast. This was a very challenging year and a different year, but I'm really proud of our students and staff and families for all their hard work this year. It really was a different year, and we're hard at work planning for the next year already, but we certainly hope that our students and staff and families have a safe and relaxing summer, but we know it's going to be filled with a lot of work already, and we have a lot of summer programs that are taking place now. Summer Scholars, Read to Achieve, the Bridge program and Accelerator programs. Bridge and Accelerator are structured like summer camps and are for students in grades 6 through 12. And we just recently reopened registration for those two programs if families are interested. That's grades 6 through 12. A phone call went out, but on our website, under Summer Launch 2022, you can find more information. The new deadline is June 10th for that. Dr. Fitch mentioned about graduation ceremonies, and I just love graduations. Where else can you wear those fine outfits and not feel like an outsider, at least for an hour? But this weekend, Bettyfield, Fike, and Hunt, the traditional high schools, have their ceremonies starting at 9, and so we're looking forward to seeing all the graduates and their families enjoying the day and enjoying all the hard work that they put into their academic career and celebrating with them. So mark that down on your calendars. We also recognized our Teacher of the Year and Principal of the Year recently, and we were able to surprise them at their sites. They are both very deserving. Carrie Moravi at Fike High School, Spanish and IB teacher. I had a chance to go in her classroom a while back and spend time in there, and she is amazing. Pee Wee Owens scholar as well, but just a fabulous person and could be a real strong contender at the next level for us as Teacher of the Year, and truly loves her kids and loves what she does and is a great representative for us. Miss Parker at Darden Middle School, I think we finally caught her a little bit off guard, which is always nice to do. I checked on her on Friday to make sure she was still working since she was Principal of the Year and there's no special prize that came with that. And she was very excited and very caught off guard, but very touched. So they were all very excited and glad to represent us. So the committee and the staff who kept that all secret, that is a really hard task to do. But I wanted to thank the Wilson Education Partnership for the work they put into it. I see Robin Williams in the back. Vestra Auto Group and the owner of Brewmasters, Ruckus and Redemption. They always come through big for us with that. And the Hub for providing prizes for the winners. They now advance to the regional level. So if you see them, congratulate them and wish them luck. But if you see those folks that help provide that support, that's always big for us to recognize those folks as our standouts. We also had our awards day recently at the high schools, and that's a fun time too. This year we had 7 seniors who will be receiving the Pee Wee and Myrtle Owens Scholarship. This provides funding, if you remember, so they can pursue a degree in education. And my favorite part is they have to come back and teach for us for 4 years. I remind them of that every chance I get. But the scholarship program began in 1998 when Pee Wee and Myrtle Owens created a private trust. It is one of the few trusts of its kind that I know of, and it is amazing to think what it provides for students that want to be educators, and especially the system our size to have that ability to provide for an education through that trust for teachers to come back to us and keep that connection going. The interview process with the high school principals, the board chair, myself, it's something I look forward to every year. It's very impressive. The students are so much fun, and it's so amazing to see all the things they can cram into 4 years of high school. It's really quite humbling. I know my girls will be glad when I don't talk about it anymore when I come home. But since that time, we have awarded 143 Owen scholarships since 1998. And this year's recipients are from the early college, Wilson Early College, Emma Curry and Lily Davis. From Bedingfield, it was Jemiah Lamb and Emily Moss. From Fike, it was Michaelan Williams. And from Hunt, it was Jordan Hart and LaShayla Thomas. So we're very excited about this year's recipients and look forward to seeing them in 4 years. It's also time for us to gear up for the annual backpack drive, and that's to provide backpacks to students in need through the support of the community. Like last year, we'll have backpacks available at the school throughout the district for staff to make sure that students most in need get them. This will be our 11th year, according to Ms. Lynch. Chick-fil-A is one of our main sponsors, and they're holding their Bucks for Backpacks event to celebrate Miss Christy Proctor's birthday on June 23rd. You know, that's something she does every year, and we're so thankful for that. We'll be sharing more information about that on our website and social media later, but you can go ahead and mark that down. I have two more really kind of neat things to share. And one, I asked Amber to reach out to this teacher that I know as a shout out and to show some of the caring and compassion that we have in our school system. But I got an email right after the board meeting last month, and from one of our teachers, Miss Renee Bunn from Rock Ridge Elementary. And I asked her if I could share the details tonight, because I think it really showcases what makes our staff special. So if you'll bear with me, it's a little bit lengthy, but it's important. Ms. Bunn shared that a few weeks ago, this was last month, the second grade was on a field trip at the Durham Museum of Life and Science. When they were about to board the buses, she fell and hit her eye on a picnic table. The other teachers, bus drivers, and a museum worker rushed to make sure she was okay. They took care of her and also made sure to look after her students. They also contacted Principal Emily Chilton. When Ms. Chilton heard what had happened, she dropped everything she was doing and headed that way to meet Ms. Bunn in immediate care. Ms. Bunn shared that Ms. Chilton went above and beyond what was expected of her. It would not leave her side at immediate care and the ER. She told Ms. Bunn that she was staying with her and that staying with her was the only place that she needed to be. Ms. Bunn said that words could not express how much she appreciated what Ms. Chilton and all the other staff members did for her. And she wrote this. She said, "I ended up with a very black eye, but what stood out more is how everyone pulled together, and I wanted to share with you what great staff we have in Wilson County." There's a whole lot more to this story that makes it even more outstanding. So if you see Ms. Bunn or Ms. Chilton, you may well ask them about it. But I just think that goes to show things like this happen all the time in our school system. We often hear about the things that don't go well, but there are a lot of things that do go well every day. And I'm very proud of our staff that will go above and beyond to take care of one another like family, because I think that's important. So thank you, Ms. Bunn, for letting us share that. She's a great lady, and I didn't get a chance to tease her about her black eye because I don't want to jinx myself. But it was a pretty serious accident, and they handled it very, very well. So just thought you'd want to know that little story. And last, I'd like to recognize someone who's at the front table here, because this is a first for me in my role as superintendent, is Dr. Ben Williams, our Assistant Superintendent of Administrative Services, was recently selected as the 2022 Dr. Samuel Houston Leadership Award winner. And this annual award is presented to graduates of the Aspiring Superintendent Program through the North Carolina School Superintendents Association and the North Carolina Alliance for School Leadership Development. Now, I have known lots of folks who've been through the Aspiring Superintendents Program, and I've actually sponsored folks to go through the program, but I've never had the pleasure or the privilege of working with folks who've actually won the Leadership Award or known anyone close to me that in nearby districts that have won and been recognized. So I get an email from Ben saying I finished up the Aspiring Leadership Program and I received an award. I'll be in the office on Monday. So I didn't look at the rest of the email. I'm going through all my emails. So Monday morning I come in and he's sitting at my table, and I said, "So tell me about the award you won, Ben." And he said, "Well, I won the Sam Houston Award." I said, "Quit playing. What did you get?" And he said, No, I did. And I said, "Seriously?" He said, "I got an email, but don't know what you're saying anything." And sure enough, here's Ben with Sam Houston and all the other people. It is a really, really major accomplishment, and it is a major award. So I really felt bad. I was like, no, quit playing. What did you really get? But Ben came to us in July of 2020, right as the pandemic started, and he has been an incredible asset to our district and is most deserving of the award, and represented us well in the Aspiring Superintendents Program and in everything he does. And he's a very dedicated leader, and I'm very proud and thankful to have him as part of our Wilson County Schools family. And he really gets that relationships are paramount, and he works tirelessly for our students, staff, and families and community. So congratulations, Ben, on the Sam Houston Leadership Award. Very deserving, and it is a big deal. So congratulations. So next time I'll read all my email. So that's it. That's all I had, Dr. Fitch.
All right. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Dr. Williams. Now is the point on our agenda where the public gets to give input. Each person is granted 3 minutes for his or her presentation. This portion of the meeting is for the board to hear matters of interest from the public. However, obscene or vulgar statements, personal attacks, and statements reasonably perceived to be disruptive or imminently threatening to the orderly operation of the meeting shall not be permitted. We have 6 persons who have signed up to address the board this evening. The first is Bryant Glover regarding Wilson Education Partnerships mini grants.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Mills, and other central office staff. My name is Bryant Glover, and I'm the agriculture teacher at Bedingfield High School. Last fall, I was a recipient of the mini grant from the Wilson Educational Partnership. My grant was one of 13 awards that was awarded for a total of $10,000 to Wilson County Schools teachers. This mini grant allowed my FFA chapter to purchase a hydroponic grow tower. This tower made it possible for my horticulture class to grow lettuce in a non-traditional way right in our classroom. This grant afforded my students the invaluable opportunity to not only experience growing vegetables in a new and innovative way, but it also gave them a chance to actually witness the growing process and taste the delicious fruits of their labor. In the future, the hydroponic tower will serve as a cross-curricular tool that can be used by various classes in the school, since it is completely mobile and houses its own light source, thus maximizing the number of students impacted. For example, it can be utilized in biology classes to study the growth of plants and even culinary classes to grow fresh herbs to be used in dishes. Truly, the possibilities are endless. Because of this incredibly helpful grant, the future students of Bedingfield will be able to grow through learning while also learning to grow their own food. Accordingly, I strongly encourage and challenge my fellow Wilson County Schools colleagues to think about projects for which they can use this awesome grant as a way to enrich their own teaching and enhance their own dynamic, exciting learning environments. The grant process will open in July. Up to $1,000 can be awarded to complete various projects or to purchase equipment that can be used in your classroom. Board members, thank you for your time, and teachers, I hope you have a great summer and consider applying for Wilson Educational Partnership mini grant.
Thank you. Next, Mick Rankin regarding school safety and security.
Thank you, Chairman and School Board. I appreciate the time to come up and talk. I'm retired Navy. I retired here. I don't have children in the Wilson County Schools, but I'm very interested in what's going on. I would like to offer a suggestion and challenge to the Wilson County Schools in light of the recent shooting in Texas. There's many discussions about the cause and response. There seems to be little discussion about prevention activities. What I'd like to do, security is routinely overlooked, and after an incident, there's always a call to do something. Well, the problem is most institutions have security plans, but over time they become lax. The reason is security measures are not easy and they're not convenient. There's always someone who feels like the rules don't apply to them, or they know what they're doing and they can take shortcuts. And anytime there's a severe incident, you can almost always trace back to something was missing in the policies and procedures. So when you establish a policy, a security policy or procedure, the most important element are the people directly involved, those in the school. And so my suggestion is I would like to see each school establish a 6 to 8 person security council comprised equally of parents and staff. And so what they do is they meet once a month, they go over the security plan, and they also review things that they've seen over the last month. And, take a lottery and somebody goes each week through the school, just does a quick walkthrough to see what things are missing, what things are not being followed. And the idea is not to find violations and get people in trouble, but to identify those things that people are not following and why they're not following it, and put in mitigation procedures. And then this would evolve into, as they continue to do that, is looking around for other areas that they see as possible risk. And I would suggest that the school board establish the same kind of council, one person from each school's council to meet on a regular basis to do the same thing, and then go around and visit other schools and do the same thing. The councils don't need to be security experts. We got the internet. There's all kinds of suggestions. We got the police, we got federal agencies, we got state agencies. They can provide, information. But really what it takes is a questioning mind and a questioning attitude and a willing to look at things from a different vantage point. And the most important thing in any kind of security situation is just to step back and think, what could possibly go wrong? And then look at that and say, okay, how can we prevent that from going wrong? When people are directly involved in day-to-day activity of school. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rankin.
Thank you very much. I left the letter. I'm available if for anybody like any further discussion.
All right, thank you so much. Tyler Dean, regarding school safety.
What's up, y'all?
Good evening.
I had planned to come to this meeting for quite some time, but my goals have been to discuss the early education program at Hunt and Bedingfield High Schools. I'm a very proud parent of two of the graduates from the program and more than pleased with the education my children received. And I plan to come to the meeting to highlight the good work that Ms. Lamb and Ms. King have been doing. However, like many other parents, my focus got altered on May 24th. Like every other school-age parent in America, the all too familiar fears came back, and the safety of my children while they were at school came into question. I wondered what's being done to keep them safe, what else can be done to keep them safe. And while that tragedy in Texas has spurred discussion on what our national leaders can do, I would like to focus on what we can do immediately without relying on someone else to act. Y'all may not be aware, but the Department of Public Safety, which is where I work, the Secretary issued a directive to all sworn DPS personnel to work within the school systems and provide additional security. Very quickly, Dr. Williams met with us, and Dr. Williams and Dr. Lanes met us with very open arms. Officers from DPS have begun random checks at each of the county schools and are providing additional manpower to help keep the students safe. Switching hats to a parent now. I've been fortunate enough to attend training led by Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, who's a leader of school safety from the law enforcement perspective. And one thing he highlighted over and over was making our schools a hardened target. It's not about turning our schools into prison. It's about adapting current facilities into something that a potential adversary would see as too difficult to attack. To harden a target, you're seeking 4 Ds: deny access, delay the act, detect the crime, and deter the attack. There's numerous products on the market that can assist this without any major retrofitting of the school systems. 3M and other companies produce a film that can be placed on tempered glass. As you may be aware, the shooter at Sandy Hook shot the window out and then climbed through the window. This film goes over top of that glass and prevents being able to push the glass in. At a cost of $250, you could secure a school. There's other countless devices to lock a classroom door from within the classroom, not requiring the teachers to exit into a hallway. At a cost of $60 per classroom and not requiring any major retrofitting, that would be a bargain. This is one product called the Barricade. It's a cost of $60, and then there's another product called RhinoWare. Most of these products can be purchased through the Governor's Crime Commission under grants. I would say, though, that if grants or money were an issue, would you allow the parents to crowdfund these items or provide them for our own kids' classrooms? I'm sure that we could also have parent volunteers or members of the Wilson Education Partnership install these. Even simpler objectives can be done to increase school security while students are present. I've heard from school staff that people with no children are on our campuses. Examples include students using DoorDash.
Thank you very much. If you have a list of your products or whatever, or your listing, please share them with us.
Thank you.
Charles Bayo, School Policy.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First of all, I want to thank you all for getting back to me on the questions I asked last time I was here. I have several more questions for this evening. First one is, how do parents who do not want their child to read a particular book prevent them from checking it out of the school or classroom library? Do the schools have a process in place to honor the parents' wishes? Is the subject of human sexuality being taught in grades K through 3? If so, what specifically is being taught? If a parent does not want their child to partake in any human sexuality classes for the entire school year and notifies the school in writing, will the school honor this? Are gender issues taught in grades K through 3? Is the quote, gender support plan, unquote, in place at grades K through 3? If so, are parents notified of their child's involvement in this program? If a parent does not want their child to partake in any gender education for the entire school year and notifies the school in writing, will the school honor this? If a parent does not want their child to partake in any student surveys for the entire school year and notifies the school in writing, will the school honor this? And lastly, the survey, copies of the survey. I personally am not able to obtain the school surveys with the links I was supplied. I found them to be inappropriately long. Please supply me with either a hard copy of the surveys or links that are more user-friendly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members of the board, I misspoke our number. There are 7 people, no, there's still 6 people that have addressed, but I overlooked A.J. Gunter regarding the positive experience as a substitute teacher and intern.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is A.J. Gunter. I'm a recent graduate from NC State University and a 2018 graduate from Wilson County Schools. I'm here today to share my appreciation and positive experience substitute teaching and interning for Wilson County. Education wasn't always in the plan for me growing up, so to be 100% sure this was something I wanted to do, I decided to enlist as a substitute teacher. And let me just say, it has been the best decision I've ever made. Since 2019, I've worked in over half the schools in our district. I've taught a variety of subjects and have served in every grade from kindergarten through 12th grade. Subbing has given me incredible firsthand classroom experience and has greatly prepared me for teaching by having to implement lessons, communicate, and manage a classroom. Most importantly, I've gained valuable relationships with students, staff, and parents along the way. After subbing for a few years, I felt more confident in my teaching and has helped prepare me for my internship at Hunt High School this year. It was a little tough transitioning to Hunt after being a Fight grad, but I made it work. And the staff and students were incredible and welcomed me with open arms. I want to take a moment to brag on my clinical teacher that I had this year and who has been influential to me as a future educator. This individual was the 2019-2020 runner-up for Wilson County Schools Teacher of the Year. He is the only North Carolina State Keenan Fellow recipient from our district. But most importantly, he is an incredible role model, mentor, and friend. Throughout this year, my CT has helped me develop content, evaluate assessments, explore different instructional strategies. He's offered constructive feedback, and he has made me love showing up for school each and every day. There's a reason why I've decided to work in this school district. It's because I believe that Wilson County Schools is unmatched when it comes to relationships and community. The school system is made up of passionate educators that go above and beyond to ensure that all students have a high-quality education and are prepared to go out into this world to make a difference. I would not be up here today if it wasn't for the people in this school system that made an impact on me. And it is because of these individuals that I've realized that this is my calling. Education keeps me up all night, and the school system is everything to me. I'm so very thankful for Wilson County Schools, and I cannot wait to be a part of it. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, A.J.
And our last speaker is Elizabeth Herrera regarding support and resources.
Good evening.
Good
My name is
evening.
Elizabeth Herrera, Director of Community Advancement with Casa Azul de Wilson. First, I want to acknowledge that May 24th was a heavy and traumatic day for many. I want to thank all who attended the vigil hosted by Mayor Stevens, and I want to thank you, Madam Chair, for having a moment tonight to mention and honor the students at Robb Elementary. But it does sadden me that since the Uvalde shooting, Wilson County Schools has had a lot of social media posts, and none of those posts were about the Uvalde shooting. Even though the event did not occur in Wilson, I think it's crucial for Wilson County Schools to show support and reassurance to their students, parents, faculty, and staff. It is important to acknowledge that the tragedy occurred, And I would like to ask, does Wilson County Schools have a protocol on how to respond to events such as this one? And what precautions are taken to avoid something like this happening in the future? What resources does Wilson County Schools provide students that may be affected mentally and emotionally due to this tragedy? And what does Wilson County Schools communicate with students and their families to assure them that they're safe in their schools? Second, in early spring, I met with the mother of a student at a Hunt High School. She is a rising senior and wanting to prepare for when it comes time to her to apply to college. This student is an excellent student that's getting prepared a whole year in advance and applied to a summer program at UNC Chapel Hill called Project Uplift. Unfortunately, this program is very expensive, which not all can afford. Her family, determined to send her to the program, created a GoFundMe page so that they could afford the summer program. We thank all those who have donated and that shared the GoFundMe page, but Casa Azul de Wilson thought maybe this will be an opportunity to explore the future for Wilson County Schools and Wilson Education Partnership to collaborate and create a fund to send students to these summer programs. It is to my understanding that Wilson Education Partnership is a group that provides supplemental financial support for our students. And with this in mind, I think it would be beneficial to create a financial fund specifically for the need-based scholarships for summer programs. I think students should be able to apply to summer programs without the financial burden. I would also like to make aware to Wilson County Schools of an amazing opportunity that would be beneficial to share with our families. T-Mobile launched a program called Project 10 Million as their commitment to close the digital divide by providing students with free internet and a free mobile hotspot for eligible students. A student is eligible if they are eligible for the National School Lunch Program. A school administrator or educator can get more information and apply as well. I think this is an amazing resource for Wilson County Schools to look into and promote for families and students that might be eligible, since not everyone has access to internet at home. And lastly, I want the community to know that in November, Board of Education Districts 1, 3, 5, and 7 are up for re-election. Casa Azul de Wilson firmly believes our elected officials are chosen by the people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members of the board, you've heard the concerns and the issues that have been raised by members of the public who addressed the board. You may, one, direct the chairman to respond to the concern on behalf of the board, direct the administration to respond to the concern, refer the matter to a board committee, refer the matter to the administration, or place the matter of concern on the agenda for a future meeting. What is your pleasure?
Madam Chair,
Mrs. Powell?
I recommend that we direct administration to respond to the concerns.
I agree.
All right. Dr. Mills?
Be glad to.
All right, thank you very much. We now move into the committee reports. Administrative Services, Mr. Mercer.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome.
Committee met this afternoon at 3:30 with administrators and other staff and the committee. We have 3 information items, and we have 8 action items. The first information item being transportation updates with walk zones, and Dr. Williams is going to speak to that, but I wanted to point out that it appears to me from the information I've received is that they've gone back. It's been a number of years since the walk zones have been addressed, and they've improved it, offering more bus service and protecting children that have to walk through areas or cross busy streets and so forth to make it safer for the walkers. And so the walk zones really have diminished the number of walkers and offered bus service to a number of those that previously have walked. And he also gave a report on some of the achievements of our transportation system this year. So, Dr. Williams, could you share some of that with fellow board members, please?
Yes, sir. In regards to the walk zones, we reevaluated our walk zone areas As Mr. Mercer said, it had been some time since that was done. In doing so, we were able to reduce the area of walking in the schools that we listed in the board packet. Transportation services will certainly be provided to those students that are no longer outside of that walk, or that are outside of that walk zone now. We measure to do so just as a result of growing areas, traffic, and other safety concerns that we needed to address. In regards to the progress of the transportation department, some of the items that we made note of during our administrative services meeting were areas by which we became more efficient with our routing and utilizing less buses for our transportation to be fiscally responsible with our money, as well as reducing or raising our efficiency in the future. We also focused on becoming more efficient personnel-wise and reducing positions from 3 to 1 in some areas, and also adding the position of a coordinator to alleviate those duties from the TIMS data managers who route and giving them the opportunity to be able to find sub-drivers, handle day-to-day operations with buses. And one of the key components that we discussed was the installation of our new camera systems on the buses. Every single one of our buses has the brand new camera system that we had talked about in a previous board meeting that you had approved for us to purchase. And our target was to have those installed by June 30th, and they were installed by the Tuesday after Memorial Day. So they are on the buses now. That capability, those cameras give us the capability to see completely inside of the bus and the exteriors of the buses. So therefore, if we have those who violate stop arms, so if our stop arms are out and we have those that drive past our stop arms, we have the ability to capture that on camera and turn that into law enforcement to decrease stop arm violations. So those were just some of the notes that we made for our advancements in our transportation for 21-22.
And I think the clarity of those recordings from the cameras are quite clear.
Yes, sir.
From what I saw today. Thank you. Now, the second information item is contract requiring board notification. On that, the contract that they're sharing with us is Johnson Controls, and that's for fire alarm and sprinkler annual inspection, which is $42,000, or $106.99. But that's, to me, is for a school system size we've got, that seems to be very reasonable.
Yes, sir. And it does say pending attorney review, but just prior to Administrative Services Committee, that approval was given. I had a conversation with Mr. McPherson.
Any questions, comments? Okay. Our next item and third item is the COVID-19 updates.
Yes, sir. Members of the board, we provided updates for June in regards to our COVID dashboard. On page 14 of your presentation, your handouts. As of this morning, we had 9 positive staff members, positive cases for staff, and 8 positive cases for students. You have your historical data month by month prior to that. We had communication with the health department, and in that communication with the health department, they provided us updates for June 6th. The date was incorrect on the slide. It's on slide 24. It's on slide 24. This is the Wilson County Health Department data for June 6, 2022. With this data, it gives you the percentage of positive cases as well as the total positives along with vaccination data. I would just make note of the first bullet from Ms. Ellen. According to the CDC, our community transmission remains low. And again, you have historical data on the previous slides in regards to the COVID data provided by the Wilson County Health Department as well.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Any questions, comments? Okay, that takes us to our first action item, which is the resolution that we need to pass each month, but luckily, and thank goodness, this is the last month where I have to, unless there's some state legislation to tell us to do differently. The committee agreed and that we should approve the resolution and update the date and signatures. Any questions, comments? Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
on behalf of the Administrative Services Committee, I move the full board approve the same resolution regarding face coverings that was approved on 5/17/2022 with the proper date and signature.
Second.
It has been moved by Mr. Mercer, seconded by Mr. Breen, that the full board approve the face coverings resolution as has been accepted in previous months and last passed at our May meeting. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Mr. Mercer?
Thank you, ma'am. Our second action item was regarding the facility rental fees for 2022-2023. This is required to be addressed each year, and the rental fees have not changed. So they're leaving all the fees the same. It's worked good and been appeared appropriate. So does anybody have any comments or questions they'd like to make? Hearing none, Madam Chair,
Yes.
on behalf of the Administrative Services Committee, I move the full board approve the 2022-2023 facility rental fees as presented by administration.
Second.
It has been moved by Mr. Mercer, seconded by Mr. Breen, that the 2022-2023 facility rental fees plan as presented by the administration be approved. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Mr. Mercer?
Thank you, ma'am. Our third action item was the contracts requiring board approval. We had four. One was White House Transit, which provides safe and efficient transportation of certain students designated by Wilson County Schools to receive special transportation services. And that must not exceed $400,000 for the year. Any discussion or questions on that one? Hearing none, the second one was Synovia Solutions, GPS tracking for Wilson County school buses, which is $72,272 annually for 5 years, which is a total of $361,360. Any comments or questions regarding that one? Hearing none, Ready Contractors to oversee removal of asphalt and subgrade, general grading, 8-inch ABC stone, 2-inch overlay and edge mill striping, and speed bumps for Elm City Middle School, pending attorney review. That's $211,246.50. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Progressive Design Collaborative, HVAC Design Services for Bedingfield High School for $215,000 pending attorney review. Any comments or questions on that? Hearing none, Madam Chair,
Yes.
on behalf of the Administrative Services Committee, I move the full board approve the contracts with White House Transit, Synovia Solutions, Ready Contractors, and Progressive Design Collaborative as recommended by administration.
Second.
It has been moved by Mr. Mercer, seconded by Mr. Boykin, that the board approve the contracts for White House Transit LLC, Synovia Solutions, Ready Contractors, and Progressive Design Collaborative Limited, as presented by the administration. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Mr. Mercer?
Thank you. Our next action item is the continuing budget resolution for 2022-2023. This is a matter of allowing the superintendent and administration to use a budget that's the same as this year until next year's budget is approved by the state legislature, which will allow us to function and provide guidance to them. Any comments or discussion? Hearing none, Madam Chair, I move that we approve the continuing budget resolution for 2022-23.
Second.
It has been moved by Mr. Mercer, seconded by Mrs. Powell, that the board approve the continuing budget resolution of 2022-2023 as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Mr. Mercer?
Thank you, ma'am. The next item is 2021-2022 budget amendments. We have four. The state, state amendment 105, which is used for budgeting items such as salary, benefits, supplies, contract services, etc. Any comments or questions about that amendment? Hearing none, federal amendment 305 decreased the federal budget by $154,000, and it's budgeted for items such as salaries, benefits, supplies, contract services, etc. Within their programs.
Decrease the federal budget or decrease our received funds?
It decreased the federal budget by $154,000.
It decreased the federal budget, or it decreased
Our-
our
The amount we
federal
receive,
fund that we receive?
We received,
Okay, our allotment. Thank
yes.
you.
Sorry for not being more clear.
That's all right.
But that was used for items, like I said, such as benefits, supplies, contract services. Just, thank you, someone's actually really listening.
Huh? Are you talking?
Thank you. Any comments or questions regarding that? School nutrition amendment, 502. Increased the budget by $1,174,240. And that, again, within that category was for salaries, benefits, supplies, contract services. Any comments or questions? All right, the local special revenue fund, 804, increased by $216,736. Budgeted for items such as salaries, benefits, supplies, contract service, etc. Adjustment within various programs. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, Madam Chair,
Yes.
on behalf of Administrative Services Committee, I move the full board approve budget amendments 105, state public school funds, 305, federal funds, 502, school nutrition fund, and 804, local special revenue funds, as recommended by administration.
It has been moved by Mr. Mercer, seconded by Mr. Breen, that we approve the 2021-2022 budget amendments, numbers 105, State Public School Fund, 305, the Federal Fund, 502, the School Nutrition Fund, and 804, the Local Special Revenue Fund. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Mr. Mercer.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. The next action item is superintendent authorization to approve year-end budget amendments. This is so that up until the very last day of this year that we can, superintendent can make amendments to the budget so it will balance properly. And at the July meeting, we'll be notified as to what those amendments were that were necessary. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, Madam Chair,
Yes.
on behalf of Administrative Services Committee, I move we authorize the superintendent to approve year-end budget amendments.
It has been moved by Mr. Mercer, seconded by Mr. Breen, that we authorize the superintendent to approve year-end budget amendments. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Mr. Mercer.
Yes, ma'am. Our next and seventh action item was request for qualifications, architectural services for high school auditorium, science labs, and security vestibules. It was the wish of the committee, which was a 3-1 vote, to bring to the full board the recommendations to choose between Skinner, Furlow, Kirwan Architects and CPL Architects regarding the RFQ for architectural services for high school auditoriums, science labs, and security vestibules. So that's the message I bring from the committee. So now it's up for us to discuss and decide and possibly make a motion as to, and by way of my opinion, that's the recommendation. That doesn't mean that we necessarily have to rule out the third group, which is AGH. Anyone, comments, questions?
I have, thank
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs.
you. We were questioned by a member of the public as to why we needed an architect for the high school auditoriums to replace seats and carpeting and things like that. Could someone explain that to me, please?
What camp?
So I actually asked that question in committee to Mr. Letchworth, and he described that everything that we do on a construction basis has to go in front of DPI, and that there's a general statute that requires it for us to have an architect. And our board attorney shaking her. So I think by law we're mandated to have an architect design it.
That is true. Do you want the statute? I can get that.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you'll give me that
I
statute.
sure will.
And while it is a statute, I would think there would be minimal work that might have to be done on something like that. We're not planning to redesign the high school auditoriums. That is not our intent, is it?
I don't think a redesign, but there is I think all the seating has to be redone or replaced, and plus the flooring, and I don't know about the lighting, the acoustics, which could very easily require somebody with more knowledge than just putting up a panel. I can't remember off the top of my head, all that was said about that. But it was my understanding that if it were, I think you'd be absolutely right if we said, let's replace the carpet in the auditorium. Then we could find somebody that could replace the carpet, have an agreement, let them go in and replace it. But something of this magnitude, I think falls on a different category according to the state. That's my thinking, but I'm limited on what I know.
But I will agree, I don't think it's our intention to make our auditoriums like Cirque du Soleil compatible with moving parts and, mezzanine seating and a balcony or anything. I think we're just trying to put lipstick.
Well, I think we all took a trip to Bedingfield and saw holes in carpeting and broken seats, and so that was our intent to,
Mr. Letchworth did say this afternoon that the seating at Bedingfield had been repaired, because I asked that question, and they had done some repairing.
so they can repair without an architect, but not,
Miss-
can you tell me the
Ms.
statute?
Cornetta?
Yeah, I can definitely tell you the statutes, but having been the general counsel for the State Board of Education, a lot of the construction projects actually take into account the age of the students that will be there, the safety issues associated with it, and they make sure that there's actually oversight for student safety, parent safety, all the security issues that, you know, we are talking about here are factored in. So it's pretty comprehensive. And without the approval from the state, the locals can't move forward with construction projects. But if you're doing one-off of like replacement of carpet, carpet is standard. When you start factoring in the acoustics, the seats, the safety issues, that's where the state becomes involved. Construction is a requirement to be approved by the state.
But our issue was not just auditoriums, it is science labs and security vestibules as well.
There's like 100-page manual about science labs and the safety issues with them. And then depending on the age of the student, the height of the actual labs.
And that's why my question was not about science labs and vestibules. It was only about the auditorium.
Okay.
The general.
Any other comments or questions?
I've got one. Are any of these firms minority firms?
I do not know.
Well, I might just make a couple comments.
Certainly.
So I believe that the third architect that we didn't bring.
Well, H&H.
Yeah, H&H. I believe that they did the design at the, Wilson
Community College, I think they've done work there.
And they went significantly over budget on the project that they've got ongoing currently. And then we've got Skinner, Farlow, and Kerwin, and CPL. And CPL is currently working on our track at Bedingfield. And we got off to a little bit of a rough start with CPL. Yeah, I think that things have started to smooth out now that we've got somebody new kind of helping oversee. But that's why in the committee meeting, I recommended going with Skinner, Farlow, and Kerwin.
Now, the floor is open for anybody to make a motion since the committee didn't ask me to recommend.
Correct.
That's the reason I presented the way I did. So if you want to make that motion or not, I'm not pushing it one way or the other.
May I have the?
Sure, yes, ma'am.
I would say that in light of Skinner, Kerwin, Farlow's over budget projects in Wilson County and those presented in other areas across that in their presentations, I would not be in favor of Skinner, Farlow, and Kerwin.
Well, the floor is open for action in regard to the request for qualifications. And that we do have the three firms, Skinner, Farlow, Kerwin, H&H, and CPL.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Mercer?
I move that we approve Skinner, Farlow, and Kerwin for the qualifications for the high school auditoriums, science labs, and security vestibules.
second.
It has been moved by Mr. Mercer, seconded by Mr. Boykin, that the firm of Skinner, Farlow, Kerwin be approved for the architectural services for the auditorium, science labs, and security vestibules for the high school. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Let the record reflect that the motion carries 5-2 with Boyette and Breen in opposition.
Madam Chair,
Mrs. Boyette?
I didn't get an answer. I mean, can I get an answer to the minority firm? Was there any minority firm that applied and was not presented to the full board for this contract?
Dr. Williams?
No, ma'am, the three RFQs that were in the, that were presented were all that.
Were the only three, and they are not,
Yes, ma'am, and
two aren't?
I'll verify with Mr. McPherson as well to make sure there were not any that were disqualified based off of legal concerns or anything of that nature. But to my knowledge, the three that we have are the three that had presented for RFQs.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Mr. Mercer?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Our eighth and last action item is a request for qualification architectural services for Hunt High School track and ADA upgrades. On that one, the committee did recommend that we go with CPL. Is there any discussion or questions? Hearing none, Madam Chair,
Yes.
let me get to it right. Madam Chair, I move that the full board on behalf of the Administrative Service Committee, I move that the full board approve the RFQ for services of Hunt High School track and ADA upgrades, here.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded, moved by Mr. Mercer, seconded by Mr. Boykin, that the architectural services for Hunt High School track ADA, Hunt High School track and the ADA upgrades, that the architectural firm of CPL be approved. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. That it, Mr.
That
Mercer?
concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mercer, and members of the Administrative Services Committee. The Instructional Services Committee met this afternoon, and we had 9 informational items and 14 action items. The first of the informational items dealt with contract requiring notification in the area of instructional services. This is under the threshold of the $90,000 that has, by policy, would have to be approved by the superintendent, and that contract is to Scribbles Software for the annual software applications in the amount of $54,100. Are there any comments? Scribbles is the entity that helps us in transcribing or microfilming or whatever it is, the storage of our records data for our students, because we no longer store that data on site. And this is the company that handles that particular product for us. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, let me not, because that's an informational item. So are there any questions in regards to that contract? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item, which was the consolidated program application overview for Titles 1, 2, 3, and 4. In your packet was a presentation chart that discusses each of those titles. Title 1 being for students of low or disadvantage. Title 2 being, help me, Dr. Wilson, offhand.
Teacher development.
For teacher development, thank you. Title 3 being for English learners, and Title 4 being student support and academic enrichment. They provided us in the chart the various information. We know that most of our schools are a lot of our schools are Title 1, and the other deals with some of the services and professional development that are received by our students and our staff. If you have any questions, we'll entertain those now, or we'll ask you to please check back with Dr. Wilson in those regards. Any questions? Then we moved into revised policies. These are all first read policies: 5240, advertising in the school; 6220, operation of school nutrition services; 7620, payroll deductions; 7810, evaluation of licensed employees; 7815, evaluation of non-licensed employees; and 8320, depositories. In going over each of those policies, there were only a couple that had minor adjustments or tweaks to be made. Those comments were shared with Dr. Wilson, so that when they come to us for the next read, you will be able to see those comments, because they usually do a red for the changes, and then for any subsequent changes, they will be due in blue, so that you can see those. Some were just grammatical or technical sentence structure issues, but those were all minor changes. So unless you have some questions about any of those individual policies, we will ask if it is okay for us to move on to our action items.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm not a member of the Instructional Services Committee, so I was not in attendance today. And I had a question about line 43 through 45.
If you tell me which policy, please.
6220, operation of school nutrition services.
All right. Members of the board, if you will look at the policy in question. And let me state that even though Mrs. Boyette says she's not a part of that committee, all board members are invited cordially to attend any of the committee meetings that are
Which policy
presented.
is? 6220?
6220,
Okay.
the
Thank
child
you.
nutrition, that deals with child nutrition.
Which line?
44, 45, is that?
43, 44.
43, 44, and 45.
Dr. Wilson made some changes.
We did indicate that this is one of the ones that we're asking for some changes to be made. We're going to end that first on line 42. We're going to end with school nutrition program. That's going to be a period. It's then going to begin a second sentence that's going to talk about the funding. And at the end of 45, it's going to have a statement in conjunction to the capping of the indirect cost at 8% according to General Statutes 115C-450.
That's a recent change.
And there's a change on line 44.
Pardon me?
There's a change on line 44.
Oh, yes, and on line 44, it should be 2 months operating balance instead of a 1 month operating balance.
And, yeah, that was, one said 1 month.
And the next
other
one said 2
and
months,
I-
yes. So these were, this is what I was saying was
It's
the
2 and 8
minimal
proceeded,
changes.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right? Are there any other questions about any of those proposed policies for first read? Hearing none, we'll go to the action items. Mr. Vice Chair, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you at this time so that we can deal with those action items and I can present to you. The first is for, I've got to find my correct place now. Contract requiring board approval. This was in the précis, it indicates that there is a no cost, but it's an action item. It is because this particular contract was one that was brought to us 2 months ago. It was asked to be placed on the May agenda. It was not because they were in process of legal determinations. And so this is for green light for wide area network contracts. You see that there is actually a cost of $117,264 a year. And for the time span that it would cover would come to a total of $9,772 on a 60-month contract. It is being, because of E-rate and the state, we are being offered, the cost of this service to us is being covered so that we have no actual cost to the Wilson County school system. That's why in the précis it says contract amount, no cost, but legal counsel has advised us because there is a dollar amount associated with it, we needed to take action on this particular contract, even though it is not going to cost Wilson County Schools in actuality. Any questions?
Will it show up on our budget, or the budget as coming in as an E-rate?
No, from what I understood from Ms. Pennica is that the money will
Go straight to.
be funneled straight from E-rate to Green Light.
So it goes state to green light,
Yeah.
it'll go through our hands.
I think there was some requirement that the board approve it.
We have to
Yeah.
approve it even though we don't see any of the funds
better we
coming
don't pass
into
through.
us.
Yeah, well, that's why
I'm
I'm
much
saying,
better.
if it's going through our hands,
Yeah,
And you're entitled to the benefit as well.
Yeah, I'm glad to get it, but I don't want to mess with it, it'd be good.
Are there any other questions in regard to this contract? Hearing none, Mr. Vice Chair, on behalf of the Instructional Services Committee, I move that the board approve the green light contract, which will have no actual cost to the system.
A second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the full board approve the green light contract that in reality has no actual cost to the school system. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries unanimously. Madam Chair.
Thank you. The second action item is the academically and intellectually gifted plan. The plan that we currently have ends at the end of this academic year. And so what is being presented is the 2022-2023 plan that will actually extend to 2024-2025. The administration presented a very detailed and specific program for us. The only change that was requested was that the plan the final plan to be submitted will include more information on the measurability in terms of the underrepresented populations of our system. Mrs. Lewis has indicated and provided a sub-sheet that will be added, but the final figures will be incorporated into the final plan before it is actually submitted. With the tweaking of the plan as presented, it is the decision of the Instructional Services Committee to recommend to the full board the approval with the necessary changes and tweaks that the plan go forth. Therefore, on behalf of Instructional Services Committee, I move that the academically and intellectually gifted plan be approved pending the necessary changes that have been asked for.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the full board approve the academically and intellectually gifted plan with the requested changes be approved. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries unanimously. Madam Chair.
Next on the agenda were the new high school course offerings that are being proposed. There were 2 courses that were proposed to us. And I have so many pages that I am missing the first of which was a course in Drone Technology 1. As you know, we have already approved that during our summer offering, there will be actual hands-on for drone utilization. Was that in the Summer Scholars Program or the Bridge?
Bridge, which is a part of it.
In the Summer Bridge Program. That course will be a course available for 11th and 12th graders. With this course, the hands-on experience during the summer, there will be engagement during the fall semester with students able to take the actual course in Drone Technology 1 beginning in the spring semester. The second course to be added to our bank is Esports Gaming and Industry 1. We know that esports gaming and that industry is a fast-growing segment of our population, of our society, and this course is to be offered again at the 11th and 12th grade levels. There are some prerequisites that are included, and between our meetings, I think Mr. Linden added a sheet with the course tie-ins that they are suggesting for you. That would be Computer Science 1, Computer Science 2, leading into the esports and gaming industry elective. Python programming 1 and 2 would also lead into that. Game art and design, as well as advanced game art and design. Game art design, digital design and animation 1. Digital design and animation, as well as digital design and animation 2. And sports and event marketing 1 and sport and event marketing 2 would all be prerequisite because certain skills would be in those course sequences that would fall nicely into the elective for the new course that we are adding. Again, students through those entities will be able to participate, and there will be an esports gaming team that will be established. We know that there is a big esports tournament that will be happening in Raleigh, and we know that many of our students participate in gaming, and so this is a wonderful segue. The skills learned within this particular course of study lead to potential learning opportunities as well as scholarship opportunities for students who may not have been served as well, but who have the propensity to engage in the sporting and gaming world. So with that all being said, it is the recommendation of the Instructional Services Committee. Therefore, I move that we approve the two courses, the Drone Technology 1 and the Esports Gaming and Industry 1 courses as proposed by the administration.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the full board approve the two new courses, Drone Technology 1 and Esports Gaming and Industry 1, into the high school curriculum as recommended by administration.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions?
Mr. Chair, I just.
Yes, ma'am.
Very excited to see.
Look, just so you know, I asked today, when would the board members be allowed to go back and play with the drones? And I think there's some question that we might have to have some training or something first.
Minimum age, 16.
He did say that there was gonna be an after-school club, so maybe we can join the club.
Yeah.
I'd like to be out of the district that day in air range anyway, for sure.
Yes, we're very excited to see us in the esports and the drones.
That'd be good.
Any additional comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. It carries unanimously. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Next on our agenda was a career and technical education local plan. This is required from the state. And you have it in your board packet. I'm not going to try to explain it all to you, but you see it there. And it is the intent of the Instructional Services Committee to present this for approval. Therefore, I move that we approve the Career Technical Education Local Plan as presented by the administration.
Second.
It's been moved properly seconded that the full board approve the Career Technical Education Local Plan as recommended by administration. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. It carries unanimously.
Thank you. And before I forget, Mr. Linden also provided us with the summary that usually comes to us at the end of the first semester as well as at the end of the year in terms of the offerings that we have in career technical education, along with the numbers of certificates that our students have earned. And we know that with the earning of certifications, it gives our students a hand up and gives them good job skills, and their certifications are recognized by many industries and many jobs for their proficiency in being able to handle tasks and therefore get hired. So please take the opportunity to look at that, and it gives you information on plans for the 2022-2023 year. The next on our agenda was the revised traditional school calendar. Just when we thought we were finished handling, revising our calendars, we had another revision presented to us. And due to inclement weather that occurred on the 20th of May, we had to make a change so that Monday, the 13th, 2022, will become an optional teacher workday. And that will be the last change to this 2021-2022 calendar.
Yeah, because we're out of days.
Yes. So,
Literally out of days.
so it is my pleasure to move that the 2021-2022 traditional calendar for Wilson County Schools be approved for the last time this year.
Second.
It's been moved, properly seconded, that the full board approved the revised 2021-2022 traditional calendar as recommended by administration. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. It carries unanimously. Madam Chair.
Mr. Mercer. Next on our agenda were the revised policies as a second read that came before us at the last board meeting. From 2021, board member conflict of interest, 2210, duties of officers, 2410, policy development, 2430, dissemination and preservation of policies, 2600, consultants to the board, 4110, immunization and health requirements, 6402 /
Mr. Coleman, please remove Mr. Coleman.
Tell my mom to call back later, Johnny.
That's a weird thing.
6402 / 9125, participation by minority businesses, 7540, voluntary shared leave, and 7550, absences due to inclement weather. Whatever necessary, if you found any changes that needed to have been made, we had asked for any necessary changes to be made since the last meeting. If it is the board's pleasure, I move that these aforementioned policies be approved as a second read with the deletion of any necessary old policies to be removed.
Second.
It's been moved, properly seconded, that the aforementioned revised policies be approved, and any policies that need to be removed because of this action.
Be done.
I think that covers it, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. It carries unanimously. Madam Chair, it's all yours.
Next on the agenda are discussion and action items, the first of which is the Wilson Community College Board of Trustee appointment. At the last meeting, we had one name to come before us, that being Kenneth Jones, whose term was expiring but expressed an interest in continuing for another term. There were no names brought before the board by the time that was required as May 27th to the superintendent's office. Therefore, what is your pleasure in regard to acting on the nomination of Kenneth Jones for a term to begin July 1, 2022 and extend to June 30th, 2026?
Madam Chair,
Mrs. Boyette?
I move that we nominate Kenneth Jones to serve a four-year term to run through June 30th, 2026.
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Boyette, seconded by Mr. Mercer, that we approve the name of Kenneth Jones for a term to run till June 30th, 2026 on the Wilson Community College Board of Trustees. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. We will notify Mr. Jones of his reappointment. The next item on the agenda is the workers' compensation insurance for the business of AmTrust North America in the amount of $149,846. Dr. Mills, any comments, or Dr. Williams?
No, ma'am. Ms. Singh.
We need insurance.
We need what?
We need insurance.
We do need insurance, I agree. So, hearing no questions or comments, that
Madam Chair.
Mrs. Boyette?
This is the same company that we used, and is it administered by a local firm?
It is. It's same process.
Hearing no other questions, what is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair,
Mrs. Barnes?
I move that we approve the contract for AmTrust North America's workman's comp services for the amount of $149,846.
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Barnes, seconded by Mrs. Boyette, that we approve AmTrust North America for workers' compensation services insurance in the amount of $149,846. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously.
Madam Chair.
Mrs. Barnes?
I move that the Wilson County Board of Education go into closed session to consider confidential personnel matters as provided in North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A1 and 6 and 115C-319 through 321 to consider confidential student matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and North Carolina General Statute 115C-402 and the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act 20 USC 1232G to formulate plans relating to the emergency response to incidents of school violence pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A8 to establish or give instructions concerning the Board of Education's negotiating position concerning a potential acquisition and or lease of real property as provided in North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A5 and to consult with the Board of Education attorney to preserve attorney-client privilege as provided in North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3.
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Barnes, seconded by Mrs. Boyette, that the Wilson County Board of Education go into closed session to consider confidential personnel matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and 6 and 115C-319 through 321 to consider confidential student matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and North Carolina General Statutes 115C-402 and the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act 20 United States Code 1232G to formulate plans relating to the emergency response to incidents of school violence pursuant to General Statutes 143-318.11A8 to establish or give instructions concerning the Board of Education's negotiating position concerning a potential acquisition and or lease of real property as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A5 and to consult with the Board of Education attorney to preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A3. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously.